Hello, this is Dean Phoenix with my video of fighting the Dark Magus Sisters combined, and this is one of the most fun and definitely most challenging fights in Final Fantasy X. Now, this particular battle is with what I would consider the minimum stats that I would recommend to be fighting the Dark Magus Sisters. So with these minimum stats, I'll go over them just a sec, but it's basically there are some tactics that aren't available to you, so you have to be very specific in what you do. Now, this particular fight I had 9,999 HP, 999 MP, so just regular HP and MP, 255 strength, defense, magic defense, and agility over 170. With the characters having auto haste, auto protect, and auto phoenix on their armors. Riku has ribbon in her 4th slot, and the other two have stoneproof. So that's going to be Tidus and Waka, so they're the main party that I'm using for this. Now for luck, we have Tidus and Waka with 86 and 87, and I think Riku had about 98. So this is with the lowest sort of recommended luck. You can do it with 35 luck, but it's much more difficult because you have to have aim times 5, and the Dark Magus Sisters will knock out your characters a lot. Now, first things first, how you start this fight is very important. Now you see that I didn't start with any of the 3 main characters. I started with first strike weapons for all the other characters. So one of them has first strike initiative, and the other 2 have first strike as well. And that is so that you can sub in your characters with the highest agility and get as many turns as possible before the sisters do delta attack. Now, this is the massive problem with fighting the Dark Magus Sisters combined, is they start off with all 3 of them having full overdrive gauge. Sandy and Mindy, so that's the tall thin one and the tiny one on the right, they start off with their attacks first, so, and then Dark Cindy will go last and she triggers delta attack. So what this effectively means is, even though the sisters don't have the most HP, they have 2 million, 2.5 million and 3 million respectively, so they still have a lot. You do not have time to take them out if you have these kind of stats. You don't have time to take one of them out before they get to delta attack. The problem with that is they use delta attack and it does 6 hits of maximum damage and it dispels auto life. So it's not like you can even use Riku's Hyper Mighty G to cast auto life on all 3 characters and survive it and go from there. You have to shield it with your own Magus Sisters. And the reason that you have to use your own Magus Sisters instead of one of the other Aeons is that even if you shield with the Aeons, unless they have monstrously high stats, so you've raised their stats a lot and Yuna's at max stats and everything else, and then you've raised their stats on top of that, it's extremely difficult to survive the attacks from Cindy and Mindy, Sandy and Mindy, depending on what they do. So they will go first, and then Dark Cindy will trigger the overdrive. So that's what you see happen here. So first things first, there's the first turn, but then Dark Sandy uses Razia. And the problem is that if you summon one of the other Aeons, your own Aeons like Anima or anybody else, to try and take that hit, that would likely kill them, and then your characters would have been brought back in and they would have to take delta attack because Dark Cindy triggers it. So this is the problem. So this is their delta attack, the Dark Magus Sisters combined. They can only use it when they're combined, and they can only use it when they each have their full overdrive gauge and Cindy takes her turn. So realistically, unless you deliberately manipulate the turns after this first use of their delta attack, they are never going to get to use it again, because you'll focus all of your attacks on one of them after this, because once you've taken down one of the Dark Magus Sisters in this combined fight, it becomes much more manageable. So they're never going to get their overdrive gauges full at the same time, and even if they did, Dark Sandy and Dark Mindy would have their overdrive gauges full, and I believe that they would use Terra Graviton on their turns instead, as you'll see later. So we're going to cover that in just a minute. Sound goes a little out of sync here, I think, so do bear with me for that. But basically, what you have to do is you have to make sure that Yuna brings in the Magus Sisters and they take that turn. Now then, if your Yuna has not got high stats herself, then you need to make sure that she at the very least has a stoneproof armor so that she doesn't get shattered, and you'll cast haste on her, as you can see there, and then try and get her out of the battle so that you can get Tidus, Waka and Riku back in. Now, this is basically going to be focusing on Dark Cindy, even though she has the most HP, because she's by far the easiest one to hit. So you can see here that basically The problem is going to be that we struggle to hit Dark Sandy and Dark Mindy. So you can see here Riku will use Hyper Mighty G, and that will guard against the potential for all three characters to be killed, and that's very important there. So as you can see, Tidus got hit there with Razia and that took him out, but Riku's Auto Phoenix was able to sort that out. Now they do have some extremely nasty attacks. So Razia from Dark Sandy does a ton of damage, and Kamiseid from Dark Cindy not only does a ton of damage, but it also does MP damage. So you can see there it took all of Riku's MP. So the primary focus is getting haste on Yuna and then getting her out of the battle so that you can get your characters doing damage back in. Now when you've got this point, there are a few things that you have to be aware of. Now first of all, like I said, for my stats here I had about 85 luck with Tidus and Waka, but they also didn't have any accuracy above what is on the grid. Now the way that the mechanics work for evasion, accuracy and luck are quite complicated, but it basically boils down to this. If a enemy has 100 or more evasion, it's roughly 100, might be 102. The formula for it, for whether they get hit or not before taking luck into account, is accuracy times 0.4 minus evasion, and then all of that plus 9, and that gives you what is called an accuracy number, and then the accuracy number relates to the chances of actually hitting. Now it's quite complicated, I'll leave a little link in there, but basically what it works out as is that Dark Sandy has very high evasion as well as having good luck, and what that means is that even if your luck is comparable to hers, Dark Sandy is that one that just did the attack there in the centre, even if your luck is comparable to hers, you would still need 255 accuracy to be able to hit her consistently. Now this, with being the lowest recommended stats, this is with the accuracy that's just on the grid, so my characters have about 70 odd instead of 255. So unless you've raised accuracy to 255, which you may not have done, you will struggle to hit Dark Sandy. Now what you've got here instead is that you can use overdrives to damage them, but you should be able to hit Dark Cindy because she has much lower luck and less or no evasion. I can't remember if she has no evasion or if she just has lower, but Dark Cindy, even though she has the 3 million HP, so the most out of the two of them, is the easiest to hit, so I'm going to focus all of my attacks on her instead to take her down. And if you struggle to hit Dark Sandy as well, then that's what you should do. Now you can see here that I try and finish her off with Blitz Ace on this particular attack, because Blitz Ace, although it doesn't do the most damage, it is all focused on one character, and you can see with it doing 8,000 to 16,000 per hit, and then hitting the last bit that does 99,999 because that's a much stronger hit, that can do a good chunk of damage to Dark Cindy. Now she still survived, but you can see that although she's got her overdrive first, it doesn't trigger Delta attack because the other sisters don't have their overdrive gauges. So when Dark Cindy gets her turn, she will just use Mega Graviton instead, and that does percentage based damage, magic damage, and then inflicts a load of statuses. So if you're doing this particular way of doing things, you still have to get a little bit lucky with some of the turn orders and everything else. So you can see here that the Waka and Tidus, because they don't have ribbon, they are actually stopped from being able to do their moves. So you have to use quick pockets or item to use a remedy and restore their health. Now I would recommend using quick pockets, and because you can always use mega elixirs to heal up your party and their MP if needed afterwards. So yeah, it can be extremely difficult to keep your characters alive if you're doing it with these basic stats, but you just need to make sure that you keep Riku's stats high enough and keep her alive with high enough HP, so that she is able to heal up the other characters. And you need to always have two characters active, i.e. not asleep, so that they can use Auto Phoenix. So even though I didn't have enough turns to wake Tidus up with a remedy, because Waka was alive, even though it was Riku who died, I was able to actually make sure that Auto Phoenix kept Riku alive, and then when Waka in turn is killed, you can see that Riku is able to use Auto Phoenix on him. So it's quite a complicated fight, and that's why it's one of the more fun ones in my opinion. And I really love the actual strategy that goes into it, and when you fight them together, they're really quite difficult, and it's probably the most difficult fight I would think, because with the correct strategy, unless you're trying to fight Penance legit, which is virtually impossible, and if you're fighting Penance without allowing his arms to get a turn, that is just a more procedural type of fight, and there's less to think about than actually fighting the Dark Magus Sisters. So I find that quite fun. So we spoke about Dark Sandy already. To hit her, you need to have luck high enough to hit her. I think she has 80 luck, and she has the evasion on top of it. So you need about 80 luck yourself, and then the accuracy on top of that. And 255 accuracy to be able to hit Dark Sandy. But Dark Mindy, the little one who's using Pasado there, she is an entirely different kettle of fish. Unless you have 230 luck, you're not going to be able to hit Dark Mindy. Well, 205 luck if you aren't afflicted with darkness. So Dark Mindy is the most difficult character to hit in the game. So she has 130 luck and 240 evasion. And basically, it just means that if you're wanting to hit her, you need to effectively have 230 luck, because it's just too difficult to hit her otherwise. So you see here, I think I might have skipped a few turns there because I had to record this as two separate things. But the other two sisters are going to use Mega Graviton on their turns. And instead, we have got Cindy with being the only one who doesn't have overdrive, so we're going to have to try and take them out. Now what that's going to mean is that we can use some of the attacks like attack reels and everything else to try and basically take the Dark Cindy out, and we've just been focusing our quick hits on her because she's the one that we can consistently hit, and we just need to make sure that everybody stays alive in time for us to be able to actually take out one of the sisters. Now I always play it safe if I'm fighting the sisters together, and just make sure that, as well as having Riku use Hyper Mighty G if possible, and so that everybody has auto life, and or Shell as well, which reduces the damage from Mega Graviton. We also make sure that basically we need everybody to be alive and to be able to have the turns to auto Phoenix. So you see here, with a very difficult turn of events, we've got the two sisters, Sandy and Mindy, used Mega Graviton on their overdrive turns, and then on top of that, Dark Cindy hit Riku. Now this is one of the worst combinations of turns, and if Mindy had used Pasado on one of the other characters, that would have been suboptimal and would have been difficult for me to recover from. Fortunately, she hit Tidus. So you always have to bear in mind that you need two characters alive, and you need two characters not just alive but able to use Auto Phoenix. So there I had to make sure that I woke up one of either Waka or Tidus, because they needed to be able to auto Phoenix Riku if she got hit, otherwise that would be game over. So it's quite difficult, and you just have to make sure that you're bearing in mind what sort of turns you take, and to always have somebody available to auto Phoenix, and always have Riku's health high enough so that she can survive Mega Graviton and be able to use remedies on the other two characters. So fighting them with these minimum stats does take a lot of tactics, and it is really quite good fun. So again, we're just going to use the same mix. Now if you want to mix Hyper Mighty G, the best way of doing that is Gambler's Spirit and then one of the curtains. So Lunar Curtain, a Light Curtain, or Star Curtain. You can use Chocobo Wings as well, but the curtains are very easy to get, so I use those. And again, we just continue to use Waka and Tidus' limit breaks to do attack reels and hit all of the sisters and deal good damage, or maybe focus Blitz Ace on Dark Cindy if she is close to death, because that is the limit break, the overdrive rather, that will focus all of the damage on one of the sisters. So you can see here, it was just able to finally take out Dark Cindy, and this is where the fight gets a little more manageable. But if you're doing it like this and you don't have the accuracy to be able to hit Dark Sandy, as she uses Razia here again, you do need to bear in mind that you're going to be relying on overdrives a lot of the time to actually cause them damage. Now when you've got the two sisters down, so you've been able to defeat one of them, then you can think about applying some of the buffs to your characters, and some of the other buffs you can apply here. Now, one of the other great mixes is Ultra Null All, and you'll see here that even though I haven't raised the character's accuracy, because Ultra Null All applies 5 cheer and focus and aim and luck, the aim and luck buffs, particularly aim, is going to mean that with my 85 luck, those bonuses to aim mean that I am able to hit Dark Sandy some of the time, although it will still make it extremely difficult and you have a very low chance of hitting Dark Mindy. So we focused on using overdrives for most of the damage, and when it's down to 2 of the sisters, Riku, most of her turns will be healing, using remedies on the other 2 who don't have ribbon. and then using whichever overdrive is most appropriate. So you see here that I used quick hit, and I was actually able to hit Dark Mindy, but it's still a very low chance. But you can hit Dark Sandy a little more consistently with the bonuses from Ultra Null All. But as soon as she kills one of the characters, they will lose those bonuses. So sadly, Riku has already lost those bonuses, and so it's going to be difficult for her to hit them. So I'm going to use most of her turns for healing up. So again, you should have a good stock of Mega Elixirs before you come into this. You do get some Mega Elixirs as a reward for the capturing process. And then you can just use Riku to heal and use her overdrives and make sure that everybody has auto life and everything and high health. And then she can use remedies on Tidus and Wakka, and then use Tidus and Wakka's overdrives to be able to deal big damage to the sisters and get those hits in. So you can see that Mindy has lower defense than Sandy, so you can get some really good hits in on her. Excuse me. And Auto Phoenix should mean that it will resurrect the characters if one of them dies, because they'll all be using single attacks apart from on their overdrive turns when they use Mega Graviton. So once you've got one of the sisters down, it's much easier, but you still have to bear in mind that you have to use your tactics correctly, keep your ribbon characters HP high enough, and make sure that they are able to keep everybody healed up. Don't take any risks or anything. If you feel that it would be beneficial to just heal up like I do here instead of using an overdrive, just do that instead, and make sure that you don't take any risks and get those attacks in as you need to use them. So basically this part of the fight is just keeping those buffs up, making sure that the characters are at high health, and again, I can't stress this enough, make sure that your ribbon character has enough health to be able to survive Mega Graviton and then remedy the other two characters. So you see again, they've got, because I've been hitting them fairly evenly, they've got their overdrive turns at the same time. So again, it's going to fall on Riku to be using remedies to be able to heal up the other characters. But because she's so quick, she can use quick pockets here because I've used the Mega Elixir to heal previously, and so she has her MP back, and she'll be able to use remedy on both characters. Now, one advantage of taking out Dark Cindy first is that it's her Camisade that will take all of your MP, so you won't have to use Mega Elixirs or restore Riku's MP or your ribbon character's MP as frequently after that's happened. You see there though, if a character gets knocked out, they're still going to have a hard time hitting Dark Sandy if they have not got the aim buffs and you don't have 255 accuracy. Now just a quick word, my actual preferred level of luck is 114, and also if you're doing a regular playthrough and you're not using Break HPL, you have more than enough space on the grid to get 255 accuracy, and if you follow my stat maxing guide, I show how to do that by repeatedly beating Hornet. It doesn't take too long, so it is worth doing. Now, one thing that's not shown in this video, but will be in a future video I'll post, is the difference that having 255 magic can take. And 255 magic can be very useful for the sisters, and it is the only legit way to take them out, i.e. non-Zanmato, the only way to fight the sisters combined and kill one of them, basically Dark Mindy, because she has the least amount of HP, she has 2 million HP. The only way to kill her quick enough is to actually, before the sisters get the turns to use Delta Attack, if you use three first strike characters, sub in your main characters, like I showed before, and you have 255 magic, and they each have a custom break damage limit, magic plus 10, magic plus 20, magic booster weapon, you can actually take out one of these sisters by using double cast Ultima, hitting all three of them and doing massive damage, and you can actually reduce Mindy's HP enough so that on the last two turns before they use their overdrive Delta Attack, you can actually kill her with attack reels and Blitz Ace if attack reels hits her often enough. So that is the only way that you can legitimately avoid summoning your own Major Sisters to shield against the Dark Magus Sisters Delta Attack. We'll be showing that in a subsequent video, and it is like one of the very, very few reasons to actually raise magic in the game. But for now, this is how you would beat them. So once you've got it down to one of the sisters, it's extremely easy to be able to beat her, because if she doesn't have overdrive, she can only kill one of the sisters at a time. Slice and Dice will hit for 6 hits, and so you don't have to use Blitz Ace on her, and Slice and Dice will do more damage. And you can very easily keep everybody healed up. you will only be able to kill one at a time unless you get extremely careless and let your HP get low enough to the point where her Mega Graviton will kill you on her overdrive turn, which is inexcusable if you've got to this point. So that was the Magus Sisters battle combined. Like I say, this is with the lowest effective stats other than having 35 luck instead of 85 luck. I would definitely take the time to at least get 85 luck, but my recommended level would be 114. And if you watch my stat maxing videos and the videos that I have on my channel about the most effective way to max luck, which is using either Tidus's solo loner method or even better still, getting Waka's World Champion fully powered up and using his Attack Reels loner method, Earth Eater will only take 1 minute per fight to get 2 Fortune Spheres, so it's well worth spending the little extra time to get that and defeat the sisters. So I hope you found that useful. My favourite fight probably in Final Fantasy X. I love fighting them together. Please like and subscribe for more videos, and check out my stat maxing guide for Final Fantasy X for both the regular and the break HP limit playthroughs. Thank you very much.